Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room live stream with myself, CT, Kings, and Race. Thank you guys so much for joining us after Liverpool's 3-2 victory. We did make it difficult in the end, but Liverpool's 3-2 victory over Brighton, Hove and Albion, or Brighton and Hove Albion, should I say, excuse me, following the Carabao or the EFL Cup. Bit of a strange one, but look, we'll take the win at the end of the day. I personally wouldn't have been too mad if we lost that game. Gives all the lads an extra couple of games rest, and we're not playing that many games in a season. But make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure to have your notifications on for all future streams and videos so that you never miss out as well on any of our content. For me, the game was, as Roy Keane and Michael Owen and all the pundits that speak the obvious would like to say, it was very much a game of two halves. In that Brighton seemed to almost just park the bus in the first half, and then we kind of tried to play through it, and from that there was just nothing happening. And then all of a sudden Cody GAKPO said, "Fuck it, I'll do it myself," and just went and bagged one absolute worldly of a strike for his first goal. And then after a bad, you can call it a bad pass maybe, but Szoboszlai should be finishing that every time. He decides, instead of passing it in the second time 10 seconds later, he's just going to pocket it in the bottom corner on the keeper's near side himself. Fantastic game from us in the second half, other than poor Jarell Kwanzaa, the poor man. Like, the first goal was his own fault. It was just a bad pass back. Second goal, you kind of got a feel for him because it was just a horrific deflection, unfortunately. I don't think we do. EOS, not at all. We have Joe Gomez, we have Jarell Kwanzaa that are there. Kwanzaa just had a horrible game today. He was grand all the way up until them two quick mistakes, and it just goes to show you how quick a game can turn like that, unfortunately. As Jamie Hughes mentions, he's young, he'll learn from it. The online abuse is beyond embarrassing. It is indeed, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, it looks like, just looking at the City game, it looks like Savinho's probably done ligaments in his leg, been stretchered off, and that's his season probably over and done with. Doesn't necessarily help City with their winger woes at the moment, because Grealish is gone and Foden is barely back up to pace properly. But yeah, we'll go around the panel and we'll see what everybody else thought of the game. Race, I'll come to you first. We'll start with the first half first of all. Thoughts in the first half and our inability or ability to break, or lack thereof ability, should I say, to break down the Brighton low block. And did you see any positives in that first half, or was that much more of a feeling out stage for practically a brand new team?
I think you were right when you mentioned it, that, I mean, it was a tale of two halves. I mean, that first half was just kind of, Brighton had the one chance with Lamptey, I think, threw on goal, and Jarros made a good save. But other than that, Brighton were kind of more reserved, and there wasn't really much on either side. And when we went out in that first half, and really the game, really without a striker. I mean, it seemed like it was Szoboszlai up top a little bit. Curtis Jones was up there. Connor Bradley was like, found himself up there as well. Like, we really didn't have an attack out there. And then second half, I mean, GAKPO, like you said, just like, okay, I'm just gonna, it's the first minute of the second half. Like, the team's maybe a little lax, not as sharp, and then he just puts it in the back of the net with a really nice curler, as a goal. And so it really kind of, it obviously it woke the game up, because Brighton were content on defending, and then they had to go for it. And then we got the second goal as well. I mean, and of course we had the 3-on-1 counterattack right before that. And then GAKPO, I love that second goal from him, because like it just came right after that botched counterattack, where I think GAKPO's pass, I'll put a little more blame on GAKPO. Yes, Szoboszlai should finish that, but GAKPO just play that better ball. Like, it's put it on the ground. It's kind of hard for Szoboszlai. Yes, he should do better, but I think but he made amends right away. He's just like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to put it right past you, put all the power in the world on it, beat you near post, because Brighton's keeper was, he was terrible today. Trying to play the ball out back, and just wasn't really that sharp. And so he just like, I'm going to beat this guy near post and just put it in. And then we were up 2 goals, and that really gave us a nice cushion. Of course, Brighton came back and got a goal there as they started to really push on. And then Diaz scored another one, and then the unfortunate deflection made it a little tight at the end. But overall, it was really good right away in that second half, to get that goal, because if we don't get that goal right there, it could very well been, 0-0 going to penalties. And so, that really changed the complexion of the game, and for better for us, because then that kind of helped out us, because then Brighton were coming out, we could attack, because we really only had Gakpo and Diaz up top. There's a bunch of other guys out there. So then Nunez came on later. But it was really good to get that win, because I think out of these two games we have with Brighton, back to back, I'd say this was the harder one, given that we just come off a very intense game on Sunday, going on the road here, League Cup. Maybe things drop off a little bit. You bring in a rotated side. But now we win this game. Now we get to go home. Most of our main guys didn't play in this one, so they'll be hopefully rested for that weekend game. And we know that Brighton are always a tough opponent, no matter in the league or in a cup competition. If kind of the flashbacks to that couple years ago, we played them back to back and they just, throttled us. We just couldn't, recover. So it was really good to get this win out of the way, and now look forward to the weekend.
Yeah, I think honestly that's basically our B team, as you mentioned. With there was 8 changes into that squad. Jamie's mentioned here, obviously 70 minutes in currently at the moment, and it's still 2-1 Spurs. Let's hope that doesn't jinx it, Jamie's, but we'll hopefully look into it. The draw is after this City and Spurs game. Man United are after winning 5-1 against Leicester. I think it's 5-1 that they won. 5-2. Apologies, couldn't even beat a team by more than 3 goals. Amateurs. But yeah, 5-2 in the United game. Apparently, Ruud van Nistelrooy is the man, and they've just been on the phone to Sporting and told Ruben Amorim, nah, we're grand. We have our guy. We're okay. I joke. They're still going to get Ruben Amorim and be absolutely dog average. But CT, how did you view the game in its entirety? Obviously, it was a very different second half to the first half. Obviously, GAKPO comes on and just scores a worldly of a goal within the first 60 seconds of the second half to kind of put a statement on it. And it was definitely him that really took this game by the throat and was like, I'm just going to do it myself and get it over and done with and finish this game off. And he nearly did, realistically. Like, he was on for a hat-trick. What were some positives from the first half and maybe some negatives from the first half? And what did you see any negatives in the second half as well?
Yeah, it was one of those games where you look at it like, I just want to get the result and get out unscathed. And I think Gakpo, individual quality, I think was always going to lift us to a result. We just got, better quality in terms of our second string talent, but it was going to be end to end because, Brighton had got pace and, I think they were a little bit pragmatic early, trying to hit us on the counter, like you said. That's all they were caring about. Probably looking at the blueprint and how we've conceded some goals, over the last 12 months, and just thought they could get at us, just like they did with Welbeck, I think, last time. But look, it's hard to take too many positives from the first half. I think, funky lineups, like Ray said. What was Jones playing in the false 9, and then it was Zaboslai on one side and Diaz on the right. But yeah, I guess the biggest positive for me was, we played a big game on the weekend, like Ray said, and we created some nice link up. Good to see Endo, get some minutes, but we'll talk about him probably a bit later. Second half a lot better. Obviously, Trainer Ione, played some nice balls through as well. Could have got on the score sheet. We worked our way through it. I think Slot, he's impressed me the most in terms of working things out at halftime and, and coming out and looking better in the second half and picking the lock, so to speak. And so, look, Lucho, we talked about our left wingers in the chat. Our left wingers are on fire right now. Ideally, I wouldn't have wanted to bring Mo on and wanted to bring Kanate on and those kind of guys. I feel like this is, like you said, just a competition where just live and die with our young'uns, and just see what we get. But we're here. Yeah. We got the result, and we got out unscathed. So that's the best thing for me.
Yeah, well, as you said, we'll jump into a couple of the stats on guys later on because, to be perfectly honest, Jim Hughes mentions it here that this match showed us that what Shites Creek we would be up without Ryan Gravenberch in the squad. I'd actually argue against that. I think both of our CDMs in this game played very, very well considering the side. But purely just like Endo and Tyler Morton actually very much impressed me in how press resistant they were and just in how they just recycled the ball around the midfield and recycled the ball between the line in front of them and the line behind them. Kings, how did you view the game in its entirety? Obviously, first half a little bit quiet, second half it's like it just all exploded in the second half. 5 goals in the second half. So it very much was, as we say, a game of two halves. How was there any points to it? And yeah, Jamie, I get what you mean. It's Ryan Gravenberch is currently on form at the moment, one of the best midfielders in the world right now, and I don't disagree with you on that. I think the drop in talent beyond Gravenberch, I think, is a little bit overblown, just purely because this is the competition we'll see these guys in. But I do agree with you. Brian Gravenberch is on a completely different level, same as Alexi McAllister. But that you'd expect that from a guy that's 22 and has the potential to be better than Rodri. And yes, I said that. You can clip that if you want. And also you have Alexi McAllister, one of the single greatest midfielders in the Premier League at the moment and a World Cup winner. And if he's like the Dennis Rodman kind of thing, where he does all the dirty work that you don't see. Like, I think it was Peter Crouch that said it about Firmino. It's the same with McAllister. You watch the whole game, you don't see him. Watch him, you see the whole game with McAllister. That's the way that I view it. But Kings, apologies, went off on a bit of a tangent there. How do you feel about the first half, first of all, and how we kind of played? There was a lot of attempts at breaking them down. We obviously had a very close range Dominic Szoboszlai strike. That was saved, which I think was a pretty good save by the keeper, if we're being perfectly honest. But then obviously we just seen a world's different team in the second half when Cody Gakpo decided, you know what, I'm just going to go and bag 2 goals here.
I think the starting point, which we alluded to, I think CT said it, and is we started without any recognised strikers. I've got to be honest, I'm not a fan of that. It's okay, we had some attackers as in wingers, but what is the point of playing a game of football and not having your strikers trying to score a goal? It's ridiculous. That's just my personal opinion. I hate any manager who just plays a game and then doesn't put any recognised strikers there. And he has strikers. Even if he'd have put Nunes on and said, okay, you're not playing much in the league, give yourself a run out here, mate. But to play Jones, Szoboszlai, or whoever up front a little bit, it's just like, it's a bit baffling. But, you know, overall, I'll give him the credit because we got the win eventually. I'm going to give a bit of a shout out to the goalie as well, Jarosz. It wasn't perfect. His third choice, and he and to be fair, so that first save, I think it was, when it fingertip save when he went onto the post, was that the first one? I can't remember, but that was world class. To be fair to the guy, his first proper start in the team, and to pull that out the bag, amazing. So I'll give him a shout out because, to be fair, overall, I think he deserves it. It was a bit of a quiet first half, and both sides, I think, many changes, 8 each, I think it was. So you're always going to be a little bit sluggish, maybe just trying to find a rhythm and a pattern on the field. And I think Ray said it earlier. Brighton are a bit of, not always, but a bit of a bogey side maybe for Liverpool. And so I wasn't expecting to just go in there, 3 or 4 goals, walk out, no problem. They're always going to cause you problems on their home patch. And then it comes out second half, and I'm thinking, right, what we're going to do different here. And then, as we said, Cody Gakpo just looks at it and says, I'll sort it. Don't worry, lads. I can do this. We don't need strikers. Don't worry about it, Kings. It's all right. I'll do it. And then that first goal, absolutely sublime, to be fair. It was a perfect way to start the second half. Their manager's in the dressing room saying, do this, do that, lads. Continue, will be fine. He blows that team talk apart straight away. And the game really does then, start to open up a little bit because, yes, we want to maybe get the second, but Brighton know they have to score then. They have to go forward. So it just opens up the game. And I didn't expect 5 goals in the second half. And, okay, Jarell Kwanzaa had a bit of bad luck. You can't help the one that was the, I think it was Lamptey, slipped as he hit it anyway. Then it hits, Jarell Kwanzaa and then goes off and goes in goal. It's like, it's just sod's law. It's one of them. Luckily, it didn't affect the result overall in the end. And I think madly, after saying all that about not having a striker on, he got like Salah on that on the pitch. And I think, we were doing all right. Anyway, I'd left Gakpo on, actually. Imagine the confidence he'd have got if he had got a hat-trick. Yeah. Because I think that would have really done him good. There were some other good players out there. And I think as a unit of second string, as it was, then they did well overall. It might be the 4th choice trophy, but when push comes to shove, if we get to February next year and we're in the final, we're all going to be happy as Larry and just go, well, it's a cup final to go to. So it's one of them that you kind of, no, I'm not bothered if I go out, but I love it if I'm in the final, just as we did last year and we beat Chelsea. It was like, well, it's great then. Best trophy ever. So it's one of them, isn't it? But overall, it was an entertaining second half, especially. But I'm just glad we got through.
Yeah, it was a very entertaining game. I went into this game with that attitude of, look, we win, we lose. I'm not too pushed about it, to be perfectly honest, because at the end of the day, if we win, fantastic, we're through to the next round. Let's hope we get an easy draw like Southampton. It's not going to happen, but
you know it's going to be Man United away. Whatever his name is, coming from Portugal, will be his first game in charge or something. Something daft like that is going to be.
I'd love it. I'd love it because we'd send them straight back to Sporting. It'd be brilliant.
That'll do me.
I've no fear of any team that's coming through, especially with City going out. Arsenal maybe might cause problems, but realistically, if they drop us out of an EFL Cup, I'd be like, fair play to you, well done. You're probably still not going to win it. But I wouldn't be overtly concerned about anybody in that's left in the competition right now. Again, as I say, I'm going to keep with the same energy. I wouldn't be too pressed if we got knocked out in the next round. It makes bugger all of a difference to me, realistically, purely because all of a sudden now it's one of them where, as you mentioned, Kings, like, it's great if we win it, but at the end of the day, we're like, meh, if we get knocked out of it. Like, I'd much prefer us to go and focus on the Premier League and the Champions League and just drop the two cups altogether and just play the kids in both cups. The problem has been that we haven't really had a chance. Still 10 plus to go. Told you. City are hardly after equalising because I'm a little bit behind here, but if they have, that's hilarious. Mihai, one of the other hosts, I'd love to have a cup run in the last few seasons. It would be great for Slot to get some silverware in his first season. It would. Fantastically great, it would. But I'd rather that silverware be a Premier League or a Champions League over a Carabao Cup, personally. But I do know what you mean in regards to that. It's same score. Thank God, Jimmy. So you have me here looking over the screen, looking ready to see if I can see it. But that's grand. Do let us know if another goal changes, and that's massively offside. There's no way that's going through. But it's one of them where you're just kind of like, look, if we got knocked out in the next round, I wouldn't be overtly mad about it. It gives us a couple of midweeks off. And realistically, if we have them over the likes of Arsenal and City, because Arsenal last season were out of everything other than the Champions League, and they basically got months and months and months off. We knocked them out of the FA Cup in January, and then we were still in it until April. So, like, that's an extra 4 months of games midweek that they didn't have to play that we did, and they got rest midweek. And similarly, we were in the Carabao Cup as well. And that's midweek games that came in. And then that pushes the Premier League games to then midweek as well. And then it just completely scuppers you altogether. And I think, honestly, dropping one of the cups, I wouldn't be overtly angry about it. The two that I'd focus on really would just be the Premier League and the Champions League, personally speaking. Now, I know others might think differently about the FA Cup. It's been a bit of a rough ride, though, Race, considering the two draws that we've had so far with two Premier League teams. We haven't really gotten an opportunity to properly rotate, at least in the first game anyway, with against West Ham, although we won that quite comfortably. But in this game, we rotated 8 players, but obviously we still won it, but obviously not so comfortably. Is this a situation of just pure dumb bad luck that we've not been able to properly rotate our players because of these games, or is it a situation now where you see Slot heavily rotate for this competition going forward? Because he made a lot of changes for today's game.
I think it really kind of depends, what our situation is injury wise and the opponent, and like if you look at this week with Brighton, I mean, we have 2 games against Brighton. And if you were given the option of, okay, which game would you rather win? I'm sure everyone would agree that the Premier League, you'd rather win that game than the League Cup game. And I think given the team selection today, like, I always felt that this was going to be a heavily rotated side. And, especially given out we just played Arsenal and it was obviously a top-notch game. And, and seeing our standing in the Premier League, like, hey, we kind of need to yeah, we're off to a really good start. Let's keep this momentum going. Let's not, like you said, like if we drop out of the League Cup, I don't think anyone's going to be too, it is what it is. But if we lose a game in the Premier League, it's gonna be like, oh man, what was that about? So I think it's, it's obviously, situations change, and that you go by your, how fit your team is and who is available and whatnot. And this week we had a relatively, we saw a few injuries here and there, but overall I think we were in a good place. And I agree with the sentiment of Jaros, coming in. He looked really good out there and solid, and impressive for a guy making his first start for the team. And so, yeah, I think from here on out, just given the opponents, still in the cup. I mean, Southampton are going to be the weakest side. I think so. Unless you draw with them, I think you're going to be, possibly the next round, putting a stronger side out there. Like, it's especially, I think if we play, like an Arsenal, or if Tottenham hang on to win here, or even United, if that's on the road, like, I think we're going to put out a decent team out there. It just kind of depends, I think, on where the fixture falls, and what games we'll have between it. Sorry, I'm keeping an eye on the game right now, but
You're okay.
Yeah, I know it's yeah, I agree with the sentiments of, if we get it knocked out, it's no big deal. If we're through, let's keep it going. It's exciting to still be in these competitions. It's whenever it seems like we always have, a Premier League side drawn, or, a tough draw, but that's just how it is sometimes. Like, it's, you can't complain. You just got to, put your team out there and compete. So, I'm hoping, I'll be excited to see that this draw here in about, it's like, yeah, right after this game. And so, I'm hoping for Southampton, honestly, that'll be nice.
Yeah.
But if not, be ready to go for it.
Yeah, we're going to get into man of the matches so far, and we'll see who has what. Something that I do want to touch on, though. We mentioned about the two midfielders in relation to Tyler Morton and Wataru Endo. I know it was mentioned in the group that it just seemed like Endo was a little bit out of touch. I don't think he was out of touch at all. That man was winning duels left, right, and centre. Wins all of his aerial duels. Won 6 out of 11 of his ground duels. Had 2 recoveries. He was 85% in his passing. Realistically, you couldn't exactly fault him. Very similar to the West Ham game where he came out and just played a bit of a blinder as well. Tyler Morton got an assist for that Cody Gakpo goal. I don't know how much he assisted him in that, but it counts as an assist, I suppose. He was another one, winning 67% of his tackles. Now, his ground duels were a little bit meh. He didn't even win half of them, won 3 out of 7. But his defensive actions, his interceptions, and his ability to read the play and play a lot of balls through, like he played one beautiful long ball through as well. I can't remember what it was. He had 5 passes into the final third. He had a very, very solid game for a guy that has barely played any minutes this season. But personally, I would have had the man of the match go to Cody Gakpo. You really could not fault him in that game at all. 2 goals, 2 wonderful goals at that. Completed nearly half of his dribbles. He was fantastic from that side. Was massively good in defense as well when he was coming back and getting recoveries. I thought he was absolutely fantastic myself. Well, Richarlison has always been close to something, but never a goal, unfortunately. But CT, I'll throw it over to you of who you had as man of the match. I think it's probably going to be a round table sweep here, Cody Gakpo, but we'll see. I'd put money on that. It's going to be Cody Gakpo, but we'll see. Who was your man of the match, and who was possibly your dud of the match?
Oh, you threw me a curveball there. I was going to go honourable second, but dud of the match. I mean, no one really stands out to me unanimously. Obviously, Kwanzaa, the inexperienced error. I don't think the second goal was really Kwanzaa's mistake. It was more a deflection, but yeah, you could argue positioning and that. I just looked at it like, it's a cup game, and when you're behind like Brighton were, you throw caution to the wind because it's a knockout game, and you get numbers forward, and usually that chaos happens late in those kinds of games. But yeah, I think Curtis Jones, was on the ball a little bit too much, like he is at times. Out of position again though. So again, we're making the best of what we have. Like King said, playing someone more direct, even if it was Cody, up front, would have been better, and have Lucho and Zobo on either side. But yeah, look, Endo's low hanging fruit. I think a lot of people feel like his days are numbered, and so he's not up to the same speed, which you can make that same case. But he's a different kind of player. I felt like obviously momentum changed when he was taken off. That's what he's there to do: break up those counter attacks. And Brighton were always going to try to hit us on the counter. I thought, a couple of times he turned it over, but he was fouled a few times as well. So the typical stuff that we saw from last season with Endo, but I thought his progression and playing some of the balls through actually did open up a couple of great chances. I was really impressed with Tyler Morton, and obviously this is just the start of something, hopefully long term. And Tyler, I think Slot really rates him, and so hopefully we get to see him a bit more. But outside of that, I thought Joe Gomez, I think honourable shout out, always solid, but specifically centre back position, he's a guy who hasn't really played centre back for more than like 18 months, maybe even 24 months. He was a lot of left back, right back last season with those guys being out. So to see him put in a proper shift as a centre back would have been good for his confidence. I still want to see him score a goal. Hopefully I'm still alive to see that. But obviously man of the match has to go to Cody Gakpo. I mean, he's basically he's dubbed the 12th man. He's always in and out of the squad. Maybe now with Slot, it's the start of something where, he gets more minutes. But Lucho's been fantastic this season as well. So that's just another feather in the cap for Slot, to get more output out of these guys,
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. One thing that I do want to mention, though, before I move on, is just while a lot of us will look at that game and pick on Kwanzaa for his mistake and his the goal that got deflected off him, he quietly had a monstrous game. And I don't know if anybody was properly watching him, but I just took a look at the numbers there, and his numbers are absolutely bonkers. Nearly 90% passing accuracy. He had 2 blocks, 4 clearances. 2 of those were headed clearances, 6 defensive actions, and he recovered the ball 7 times in his own half. Won all of his duels, albeit just 1 aerial and 1 ground duel, but like recovering the ball, very similar. Virgil van Dijk is of a similar ilk. He doesn't win many duels, but he's always there recovering the ball and getting a player out of the way. I genuinely think if Kwanzaa doesn't play that pass back and make that one mistake, he is a stormer of a game, which is really, really, really unfortunate because he had an absolutely brilliant defensive game without that mistake. But I just thought I'd put that out there and mention it. Kings, who was your man of the match and who was your dud of the match as well?
It's really difficult to pick a dud. Like I say, it's easy to look at Kwanzaa maybe and say because of his mistakes, but I don't like doing that and singling him out because it's really not fair. I think he's actually going to be a good talent for Liverpool moving forward. It's just, unfortunately, if you look back at maybe Virgil van Dijk in his early years at that age, they all make mistakes. I mean, make mistakes now. It's just the way it is. So I tend not to really single them out unless they've been really bad, which he wasn't. Man of the match, yeah, of course we're going to go for Cody Gakpo. He played really well. Second half, especially, obviously, like we said, the first goal, fantastic. The second goal was brilliant, to be fair, as well. And I think the problem he gives to Slot in this instance is now, like, I've scored 2 goals, drop me. That's basically what he's done now. And then Diaz, okay, he was playing on the other side, could rightfully say, well, listen, you had a better game than me because I wasn't on the right, where I should be. Fair enough. When it comes to the weekend, playing the same opponents, but they're going to be completely different lineups. And we've learned over the last 5-10 years in all football, there's no sentiment. So he'll say, well, you might have scored 2 goals, but on this game, I think X is going to be a better player. And that's the way it works now. It doesn't just go on performance anymore, unless you're literally red hot scoring, a hat-trick every week, then you're undroppable. But I actually think he will start against Brighton. and quite rightly so. Like I say, he put in the effort, and he's had his ups and downs. He gets good press and bad press. Sometimes, you look at him and you think, oh, is he a bit lazy? Maybe he's not quite doing it today. He's off the boil, whatever. Since the summer overall, I think he had a really good summer tournament, and he's come back, I think, a bit of renewed optimism, new coach in place, and somebody that maybe can just understand him a little bit differently, and a little tweak here and there, make his game a bit different. So I definitely give him man of the match. But overall, like I say, the first half, I think both sides were just kind of like not sure, what to do as such, because they were much changed lineups. Second half, I think most of the Liverpool players were pretty good, to be fair, enough to win the game. None of them were, as you would say, world beaters, I suppose. But I think, I'd give it to GAKPO. I think he deserved it after them 2 goals. And ultimately, it did help us get over the line. So, that's who it is.
Yeah. To be honest, see, there's no disagreements there on that at all. I think we're all probably going to have the same general consensus race. I'd imagine you'd have Cody Gakpo as well as the man of the match. And so give me your thoughts on him as man of the match. If it is him, if it's somebody else, sure, we'll have a great discussion on that as well. But who would have been your dud of the match, or would you have a similar opinion to Kings and CT in that there was no real dud? It was just piss poor luck for poor Jarell Kwanzaa, realistically.
Yeah, definitely GAKPO, the man of the match for me. You want to talk about unlucky? I think it's be unlucky that Diaz probably won't start at the weekend because he got a goal as well, but GAKPO had 2. Like, that's how it is, And I loved how there's like the competition between those two. I mean, the competition brings out the best in players, I think, and those two know, like, hey, that left wing spot, that's my best position. That's where I want to play. And so they're kind of going back and forth, and that's what you just love to see it. Like, GAKPO, he can play through the middle, but we know that on that left-hand side, he's just a terror, as we saw tonight with those 2 goals. As for the dud, I know that, as you guys mentioned with Kwanzaa, he did have a good game with his numbers and stuff, but he was at fault for that first goal. And as a defender, that's what you're judged on. You can have a great game and all, but if you make an error that leads to a goal, like that's huge. Like, if that's the equalizer there, or the game-winning goal, like that's, we're going to be feeling maybe a little different about it. Like, you can't commit that mistake. So for me, it's a harsh dud in terms of he had a good game otherwise, but that mistake for me, I mean, that's just it's crushing. Yeah. You can't do that. But the difference is that error doesn't, put into question his place in the team or his future with us. Like, that's still, we understand that that's a mistake. He can improve from that. And, isn't our first choice, alongside Konate or Van Dijk, like his role is what it is. So, but I would say that is a real, it's a dud for me. It's an error leading to a goal. And we all recognize the second one was just a really harsh deflection. And then in terms of the other players, like sometimes it's not the worst thing in the world if you're not really mentioned. I'd say more for the defenders. Like, hey, we didn't need to say Gomez's name a lot because he didn't really commit any mistakes. He didn't really, I don't think he did anything super impressive, but he wasn't a problem out there, which I think it's not a bad thing. You obviously want to see sing his praises and whatnot, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Same goes for Robertson and Bradley. Like, they were just solid, did their job and all that. And same goes for kind of the other, players around the team. The assist that Morton have, maybe it wasn't like GAKPO did a lot of work on that goal, but he did, play it forward and keep the ball alive and keep the attack going. So that's certainly a plus on his, report card. And so that's a great thing to see. In terms of the attack, like, we didn't have a striker out there. So like Jones and Soboslai and all them, like, I don't think their role is really defined in this game. So like they could go forward, but then you kind of don't want to go too forward and leaving us exposed. So I think it was just kind of a harsh, to say they had a bad game. I think there was just kind of just the way the team was set up. I don't think there was really a big opportunity for them to really thrive in the game. So you don't want them to be a problem. Like, we don't want to have everyone have a bad performance. So I would say the one, negative is really the Kwanzaa giving up that goal or leaving that error. And then, that was really kind of the only negative I saw. The second goal, again, was a deflection, but it was kind of, Brighton had the ball, just took a shot on goal. It was 2 deflections, actually. I think it came off of Gomez's foot, and then Kwanzaa's, it megged him through. So, that's a good thing. I don't think there was anything in particular that upset me, but I see the Tottenham game's gone now final. So City are out, Tottenham is through. That's a big, that's a real contender there for the cup out of it. So it's really, you would think us and Arsenal are near the top of the two favorites in this competition. Tottenham, they put out a strong side today against City, but I would still rate us in any game against Tottenham. So yeah, good to see them out of it, and we patiently await the draw here in like 10 minutes or so.
Oh, it definitely won't be 10 minutes. They'll say a draw is delayed and it'll be like fucking 11 o'clock by the time it'll be on here. So it'll be another 40 minutes, 50 minutes. Definitely.
I got time. It's only 4 o'clock here.
You got plenty of time. You got all day. Guys, we are going to leave it there and make sure to follow us on Twitter, and we'll keep you guys updated on the draws and who we get in the draws. But make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure to make sure your notifications are on so that you never miss out on any streams or videos going forward. But other than that, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope everybody has a wonderful evening. We'll be back again tomorrow from 7:30 p.m. UK time, so make sure that you stick around for that as well. So thanks so much for joining us, guys. We'll see you guys very soon. Bye-bye.